We were off on Thursday and Friday, but we're back now. So let's go ahead and see what's happening with the markets today. Uh, Let me first drop into the chat. Let me see. Do you guys have the poll there? Yes, you do. So go ahead and vote on the poll. I want to know what happens there. Let's see how many people tune in for that. Okay, you guys should be able to hear me clearly as well. I am in a new place. I'm not in Bali anymore. So let's see. We got affirmed down about 3% today. BTIG came out and said that they're downgrading a firm from a buy rating to a neutral. The Nasdaq did pick up though. I mean, it has seen some move higher. When I look at it, you are seeing some form of a move higher. I'm looking, it's about 27 points lower, so it's not too bad actually. You look at it, it's actually doing pretty okay. I mean, I wouldn't have guessed this that it would be this bad, but it's actually pretty cool. Pretty good. Just waiting for a few more people to join in. Anyone that's coming through, you can come in and say hi. We're going to be talking about Trump, some of the tariff stuff, some of the Fed stuff that's currently going on. So let's see how this plays out. We've got Reddit up about 0.5%. It's actually done pretty well since the start. Since the lows of April, it was at 79. Now it's at about 145, 146. So that's actually been doing pretty okay. Okay. We got some comments from the Fed hammock, right? Someone from the Federal Reserve, one of the governors comes and says that I don't see an imminent need to cut rates. We are pretty close to where the neutral rate is. If Fed sees the economy weaken, of course they will respond. So Hammock right now is being a hawk and saying that she doesn't see that it's imminent need to cut rates. Okay. So you got Christopher Waller and Michelle Bowman, both of them coming and saying that they want to cut rates. One of them comes out and says that hey, they don't want to. Anyways, everyone, welcome to Signal Sentiment. Hi Asif, how's it going? Make sure you guys subscribe and make sure you guys vote on the poll that you see there as well. And let me see what's happening out there in the market right now. 22,724 on the Nasdaq. So we're down about 30 points. Actually, the low of the day was almost 100 points lower. So we were actually way lower and now we've picked back up. All right. Asif's doing good. Nice, Asif. Asif, do you invest in any stocks? If you do, drop in your stocks. Let's go over some of them. Let's see what's going on. The volatility index has picked up today. It's up about 5.75, 5.8%. So that has been a move higher. 17.33 on the volatility index. So I am able to see that go up. Remember, for everyone that's looking, a stock that we used to recommend was a firm which is down 3.35. It was down 5 yesterday. That's on Friday's trading. That exactly at this moment is lower because it's got downgraded by BTIG. So they've come in and said, okay, downgraded from a neutral to a buy. So that's about it. Nothing else. Anyways, in more news, let's go over and see. Right, as of now, it looks like the world stocks. Some of the indexes have slipped a bit lower. Some of them are where they are at this moment. They haven't really gone up monumentally. They're all in the red at the moment. All the three indexes, the Nasdaq, the S&P, and the Russell are lower. They're slipping because of US tariffs. So over the weekend, for everyone that's new and just woke up today, you got a 30% tariff on EU. You got a 30% tariff on Mexico. Both of them are going to be coming through only in August. One of the good things that happened was the EU was supposed to be retaliating today. On the 14th of July or the 15th of July, they were supposed to be retaliating with tariffs against the US. Now they had an emergency stop on that, so they're not retaliating now. They're going to wait for some bit. They would like to do it in the end of July or the first week of August, is what they say. Which means that at this moment it looks like they're going to negotiate and try seeing if things can get better. That being said, what we should look at here surely is the fact that stocks are looking like they are due for a pullback. Now, it is better that the stocks actually go through a time based correction rather than a correction where it falls about 7 8%. So, this is actually better off if they're just able to maintain themselves and stay steady. All right. So, at this moment, it does look like most of the shares globally they've ticked lower. European shares are slipping as well. So US tariffs of 30%, if they actually do go through on August 1st, you will see the market fall way more. At this moment, the market is looking like it is going to, it's not believing what Trump is saying. They're just saying that, okay, this is negotiating tactics. We just want them to get a deal done and it's going to get done. Some of the news that I did read was also about the Indian delegation that is in America at this moment. They're already in the US to negotiate the first phase of trade deal. They're working on a mutually beneficial deal, and that is a government source. So I think the Indian trade deal will go through pretty much any moment now. Again, this is a time when Trump needs a win. He's getting a win if he's got a deal done with India, and most likely he'll get a percentage lower than 20% with India, which is going to make all the other countries want to come to the table and talk, because they're like, hey, you've been putting 25 and 30 and 40 on everybody and 35 on EU and Mexico. Why you giving India 15? And then he's going to say, okay, they gave me this, they gave me that, they sweetened the deal here. So these guys would do the same in order to drop the tariffs down back. So he's putting it at 20, 25, 30, and then eventually he'll come back to 10. Right. I believe that's the plan. I don't really think he's in it to try getting to anywhere close to a 30-35%, because that's just going to kill the economy for good. And he's not going to be winning his midterm elections. Remember, midterm elections are in exactly 4 months and a year from now. So a year and 4 months from now is when you got the midterm elections. That's something that he needs to win in order to keep passing all of these things that he wants to, and all these bills and everything else that needs to get cleared. So very importantly, if you logically think about it, he has a lot to gain from being pro dovish, pro positive on the economy, and also on the Fed. Now, remember, this is the thing that's going to happen, right? They've been talking about over the weekend, they've been talking about how they're going to be firing Powell, and how is it that, for cause basis, they can fire him, and the Trump has the approvals to do that. I don't know if that'll go through the Supreme Court or no, but more importantly, what is smart for them to do is not to get someone like Kevin Walsh or Kevin Hassett, someone from outside the Fed, to come in and run it. Remember, Powell has the ability to continue staying on as a Fed governor, not as a Fed chair, all the way till 2028. If he steps down from there, they can always get another person in onto the Fed governor's board who will do what they want them to do and make the chairman as Christopher Waller. That way, global markets will be happier, because it's not like we've got somebody who's just a yes man to to President Trump. Secondly, you also get a few more people on the board, right? So imagine if Powell comes and sits on the table and he says, okay, you know what, I'm not leaving the Fed. I'm going to stay on as a governor. I won't be the chair, right? And let's say they put in Kevin Walsh or Kevin Hassett. There's going to be so many people that are going to be fighting amongst themselves in order to try getting either a cut, a hike. Some are going to say not a cut. Some are going to say a hike. Some are going to say cuts. That's an issue. How do you solve that, right? You force Powell to resign, but you don't actually want him to resign. You just want him to step aside, because he realizes that, hey, you know what? Once my time is up, I'm just going to leave and go, right? If he does that and he gives up his Fed governorship, you can get Christopher Waller in there, who's anyways wanting to do what the president wants, which is cutting rates, right? You bring him in there, and you bring another Fed governor there on the table who supports Christopher Waller in everything he does. So that works to Trump's advantage. So a lot of people are thinking of this as to, you know what, he's going to get thrown out. Powell's going to lose his job. Markets are going to be in a craze. Bond deals are going to go crazy. All of this X, Y, and Z shit that's going to be happening. America is not going to look to screw around with their own Federal Reserve, even though their Federal Reserve is the only independent part right now that is left amongst the administration members, in order to make sure that their dollar and their safe haven status remains. Now, here's the other thing. Think of it this way. If they force Trump, if they force Powell to resign, if they force Powell to, even if they fire him and they bring in someone that they like, the guy coming in there, if he starts cutting 100, 200 basis points, it's going to screw up global markets completely, right? And there's one man in that entire administration that knows that that's something that's not possible and that's not something that should be done, and that is Scott Bassett, right? So the Treasury Secretary knows that this is something that he should not be doing. Firing Powell is not going to gain them anything. He's anyways leaving in a few, I think he leaves in about 10 months from now. So he's anyways going to be resigning in 10 months from now, or leaving the Fed in 10 months from now. So there's no reason for them to play around and fiddle around and try screwing up their economy, right? So it's stupid on my part if they even go down that road of trying to fiddle around with the Fed. Anyway, so in stocks, we got a firm down 3. Let me just go see some of the others. SoFi is up 1%. So SoFi has actually been flying. SoFi was at about $9, $8 in April, and today it's hit about 21. So that's a huge, huge move that's seen there. Let's go ahead. Let's look at some of the other stocks. You guys have any stocks that you want to talk about? Drop into the chat so then I will know what you guys want to talk about as well. Autodesk, did they have their earnings today? Autodesk shares rise by more than 4% in pre-market following the company's reaffirmation of its strategic priorities in the cloud platform and artificial intelligence sectors. Okay, the stock's up 6%, 6.5%. It was trading at $280 on Friday. It trades at about $300 today. Oh, that's a move. Everyone just has to come out and say AI, all right, and your stock will be up 2%. That's all you got to say. Yeah, we had Fastenal earnings coming out today. Now remember, Fastenal is a company that is very important to the American consumer, very important to the American industries. They basically engage in the distribution of fasteners and tools. It operates hardware stores as well. And pretty much everything that's a machine, some part of it is built by Fastenal, right? Some part of a byproduct to a machine is built by Fastenal. Now, in order for that to continue the way it is and for it to show good results means that the economy is in a better shape, right? So let's go over their results. Let's see what they're saying. So Fastenal ended up, wait, what? Yeah, so they beat quarterly estimates on robust demand for industrial safety products. They beat Wall Street estimates for second quarter profit and revenue. Stocks up about 5% in pre-market. So they make like nuts and bolts for factories put together. Now just imagine the amount of nuts and bolts, and I'm not saying real nuts and bolts itself. They also do make a lot of the other stuff that goes into the ancillary products of creating machines, right? Into construction sites, into all of this. And this is playing into some story that I do actually believe that in the next 18 months, I do believe that the mortgage rates are going to go lower, because of which you are going to see a refinancing boom and you are going to be seeing a housing market increase. Possibly you'll see the housing ETF as well as something in that nature of, I would say, a company like Rocket, which is a mortgage financing company, maybe America's biggest mortgage financing company, start to do really well if that actually happens, right? Now, what they say is industrial production is still sluggish in the second quarter of 2025. The performance of our fastener product line continued to lag our non-fastener product lines. So their non-fastener product lines are basically industrial supplies such as protective wear and communication equipment. That rose about 9.5% in the second quarter. That was a rise of 4.5% a year ago. So the street was estimating 28 cents per share. They came in at 29. And the street was estimating 2.07 billion in revenues. They came in at 2.08 billion in revenue. So stocks up about 3.5% at this moment. The fact that Yeah, this is what Barron's comes out and says as well, right? The industrial companies' earnings are good news for the economy. The fact that Fastenal's earnings usually are a barometer for how the American economy is doing. So the fact that they have come out with these kind of earnings does tell me that there is a high likelihood that this company can be a barometer for how the US economy is currently doing. So sluggish manufacturing economy is to blame. The ISM has come in at 49. It's usually 50 and above. That's growth. So I actually do think that's going to reverse and start going into growth. So Fastenal could be one of those companies that does actually gain. Let's go see what they're. Oh, so they're trading at pretty much an all-time high. So it was a stock that went down all the way to 35 in $35 a share in April during the Liberation Day, and that was from 42 to 35. 35 is back to about 45 right now. So great. Micron's chief financial officer sells $20 million in stock. Wow. So stock's down about 3.64%. I mean, 20 million is a lot for Micron. Anyways, do we have anything else? Tesla's up about 1%. So that's actually not done phenomenally well, but it's okay. It's moving around. Okay, let's look. Try to see if there's anything that's worth talking about. So Fed's hammock for everyone that joined in new basically says that she doesn't see a need to cut rates. So according to her, no rate cuts. But that's okay. Not like anyone gives a damn. The Indian team is already in the US to negotiate the first phase of the trade deal. It's working on mutually beneficial deals so that both America and India agree to something. I would guess that would be lower than 20%, is what I would expect. Yeah, so a lot of the news articles that I do see right now are telling me that Powell is under pressure, but I don't really think so. If you do get time, read this book by Nick Timmerose called Trillion Dollar Triage. It just clearly speaks about this concept as to how people have it inverted that they believe that Fed's Powell is going to be stepping down. He is a guy that is going to be there till the end of times, until the end of his tenure. He is not a guy that's going to be leaving this early. That's not happening. I don't believe that happening. That's just, it's not part of my belief system that this is something that's going to play out. It's just he is he is for sure going to be making sure that in his book, right? I mean, in the book in which Trillion Dollar Triage is written about the 2020 coronavirus stuff that happened and how the Fed acted. He clearly said that if under anybody's pressure, he would still never resign, and his services to the American people. So this is Trump saying maybe I'll change deals, maybe I won't. Let me actually see if I can get the remote. We can sometimes put this on, so you guys can. And Tyler Kendall, give us the latest on how this is going to play out through the course of this week. Yeah, hey, Smiley. Well, now that all these trade letters have been sent out, we're waiting to see how negotiations are going to evolve from here. And of course, the big news over the weekend was that 30% tariff threat against the European Union. And we heard from the EU trade chief saying that he will speak with his U.S. counterparts later on today. And the EU is going to hold off on its own retaliation until August 1st to let these negotiations continue. But a really here is that he went on to say that there is a new sense of urgency, in his words, for the European Union to engage with other trading partners. And Bloomberg News. So that's what they've been saying, right? I mean, they have been saying that they currently have put a 30% tariff rate on the EU and on Mexico. They're saying that tariffs may ease if countries are open to trade with the US. It goes into effect on August 1st, but maybe it's not something that these guys really want to do. So it just could be something that they're actually looking into at this moment, trying to see if whether they can negotiate to a better price. All right. So Bitcoin's actually been moving, right? It's been going crazy. Boeing gained about 1.8% in pre-market trading. They were saying that it's the pilot's fault and it's not.
Anything else? So that's why you're seeing that Nvidia was rising 0.5, Tesla extending gains. Hmm. I would have expected Alphabet to actually be higher. I would have expected Google to be higher. Google went out and agreed to pay $2.4 billion in a deal to license its technology of artificial intelligence coding startup Windsurf and hire the CEO. I would have expected them to be actually making a move higher in stock, but that didn't happen. So it does look like the market doesn't like the fact that they're spending 2.4 billion in order to try getting hold of these guys. Yeah, Fastenal was the one that came out and reported today, and Fastenal was the one that's pretty much made it clear that the economy is in a pretty good shape. Hmm. White House advisor Kevin Hassett to reporters says trade talks underway, still underway with EU, Canada, and Mexico. So this is just them. I'm telling you guys, this is just him coming out and saying, hey, you know what? I'm gonna tariff you at this rate. Just agree to what I'm saying. Don't try putting in your numbers and all of that. And everybody else is just going ahead and giving their own story. So this is what's been happening. It's what's going on. Be a bit smarter. Figure it out. Understand that this is all a negotiation. It's the deal to make a deal. Yeah, oil actually did spike. Oil's been heading higher for a while. We had seen it go higher. Now it did after the Iran-Israel war. It did come back down to 63, but 63 has gone to about $68 now per barrel, and it is picking up higher because there is a possibility of Russia sanctions coming in today. So Trump said that he's going to be making a massive announcement on Russia on Monday, which is today. So let's see. Most likely, I think he is sending the Patriot missile system. I'm guessing he's going to be sending more missiles to them, which is just going to make it look like oil is going to be heading higher for a while. But OPEC is also increasing production. America is also increasing their production. They don't want prices to go higher. So it could very well be a situation where they don't allow it to go higher. Hmm. Let's see what else is going on. Yeah, Affirm's the one that's taken a shit today, all the way down to go and fill its gap up at $62.78. Actually, that might not be a bad price to go in and buy some shares. It actually looks pretty good. I mean, again, this is just for me, guys. It's not for you guys to go in and invest. So don't hold me to it. We're 41 points down on the NASDAQ, so that's about negative 0.17%. It's not actually that much. But yeah, it is looking. Are you guys going ahead and voting? So just make sure everyone that's new, go ahead, subscribe, and then go ahead and vote. Today's question is, do you think Trump's major announcement, which could be coming at any time, right, on Russia, whether that is going to have any form of a market impact? My belief is there's going to be no market impact. Uh, but there could be a hawkish impact, or it could be a surprise boost for stocks, because if it's something which is not too crazy, you could see oil heading lower and that might take stocks higher as well. Who knows? We haven't had, it's been a while since we have seen a new high. It's been about 6 days since we've seen a new high. And usually, when you see all time highs, you usually see follow through and days of new highs coming through as well. And this is a bull market, remember that. So, in bull markets, you are going to start seeing new highs coming through at most points of time. So we won't be too far away from a time when in a few weeks or maybe this week we will again go in and make a new high, right? So just keep on the watch. The 10-year bond yield has picked up. That was again, it's in the range between 4.25 and 4.5. So it's completely okay till the time it plays within this range of 4.65 and 4.25. And if it breaks lower, it's better. But at this moment, it does look like it is staying steady there at 4.4. My bet is I think 10-year bond yields are going to be heading lower. I think we are going to be seeing a refinancing boom. We will see the bond yields heading lower purely because the administration wants that. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to go ahead and do it the way they say it is, but I would suspect that it is something that is quite likely. Just drop into the chat and let me know if you can hear me or no, because I'm not using my mic anymore because it's pretty silent. So you guys should be able to hear me clearly. Yeah, we got Reddit up almost a percent. We got Trade Desk up almost a percent. So if Trade Desk, I think, can take out 77, $78 a share, it could very well head back to 80 and start filling its gap higher. I think the earnings come out later to the end of first week of August. So 7th of August, you should be getting that. Could very well be near the 84, $85 per share region around that time. It wouldn't be too much to expect that. Yeah, let's actually go in and see what else is currently going on. So Chinese stocks were actually, I mean, their numbers that actually came out for the Chinese economy were pretty good. So you don't really need a reason for them to actually go lower. But the Hang Seng Tech Index was up about 0.67. Again, if you look at it from May 2025 till now, it's just been steady there. The Hang Seng Index was up about 63 points, which is about 0.26. So Chinese stock market's not doing actually too much. It's actually just been playing within a range at this moment. Yeah, my bet is I actually think one of the biggest gainers in the next 5 years could very well be Reddit. For all of you that want to go and check out the ticker, it is RDDT. Anything taking out 175, and my bet is you would be on your way to 220, 230. It is just a $26 billion company, so it's not too big. Don't go by the price to earnings ratio and start getting worried about it, because remember, this is a company that's growing and it's making money, and it is just going to start putting in the ad money that they have, as well as a lot of this AI money that's there. OpenAI and Google pay a lot of money to, they're not really a lot of money, but they pay about $300 million to Reddit. For the grand scheme of things, that contract is up for negotiation next year, and I'm guessing that number is only going higher, it's not going lower. Which means if they're negotiating higher, they're going to be making more money on more data that's available on their platform, which means the stock is going to get re-rated higher. Now, I don't need to make that look like it's tougher than for everyone to imagine, but if you make more money, your stock usually does better and prices move up, and that's how you make money, because stocks go higher. So Reddit is something that I'm actually looking at. It does look to me like Reddit could be on its way to an all-time high in the next 24 months, if not earlier. I mean, this is a stock that can move 30-40% or more in a month, or maybe in a quarter as well, right? Let me actually tell you how much it moved from the lows of April. From the lows of April to today, it is up 81% in 3 months, right? Now, it doesn't need to go up another 81%. Even if it can go up another 50%, it will be closing in on an all-time high, which was at about $230. Not too far back. It was actually just about 5 months back when this was happening. So it wasn't really too far away when this was actually playing out for Reddit. There has been a lot more amount of daily users. There has been a lot more amount of people using Reddit Answers, which is an AI answering system for Reddit. And you are seeing Chat GPT and a lot of the other guys also coming in and trying to get a lot of data from you, right? Anthropic was trying to do it, and I think Reddit ended up suing them, saying, "Hey, you know what? You can't just be taking it without a legal agreement with us. You got to pay us." So I'm guessing that's going to get sorted out as well. AMD is another stock that I like. I actually do believe that it is looking like it is again going to be heading towards its all-time high, 227. It is, after Nvidia, it is the best play on AI. So looks quite likely that this could be on its way also to be making a new high sometime soon. It all depends on whether Mr. Trump decides to just play chicken with us and not put the tariffs. If he does put the tariffs in, we're all screwed. All right. A lot of this party will end very, very soon. But my guess, he put his hand too close to fire this time on April 2nd, and he realized that it'll burn. So I think he's not going to do that. One of the statements that I just saw him coming out and saying was that he may do deals, or he might not. So he doesn't know either. This is, I mean, that should just be an answer for you that all of this is a negotiation. So every time you see a down day on the markets, you see any form lower, then you can look to invest money. Okay, our firm is down about 4% now. Wow. So that's the BTIG one that's coming through. I actually think it'll open a gap down and then close the gap eventually, because it's not really that much. Shares of Affirm down 3.3% pre-market to 62.58 after BTIG downgrades buy now pay later firm to neutral from buy. Hmm. So traditional point of sale lenders such as Capital One and Synchrony are expected to begin loosening underwriting standards and take market share across the credit spectrum. A trend likely to hurt fintechs such as Affirm. I just think these guys just want to buy the stock, and that's why they're trying to do all this stuff. BTIG says it worries Affirm will continue to experience revenue less transaction cost margin pressure as company experienced last quarter, while also not showing accelerating GMV. Oh, so what they did was they upgraded Synchrony Financial to a price target of 100, and they so BTIG had a price target of 75 on Affirm, and they dropped that down to 69. So that's okay. I mean, sometimes these guys just do it because they want to buy the stock that you are going to be selling to them. That is their plan most of the times. Yeah, just 29 points down for the index. So actually one of the good things for today was that the low and the open are very close to each other. So that does look likely that that would continue. And that is not a bad deal at all if that actually happens. I actually think these intraday drops that are going to be happening are going to get bought into. There's a lot amount of fear of missing out that's there currently, and that's going to play out. Autodesk up about 6. Oh, that's actually doing pretty well, man. CrowdStrike was downgraded again, so that's down about 2.5%. That's actually down about now. It's about 10% away from its all-time high. So that's fallen quite a bit. I really like the fact that Fastnell came out with its earnings, which were actually pretty good. And being a bellwether for the economy, they were able to come in and say, hey, you know what, we're doing well. And we were able to beat the estimates. We were able to beat revenue as well. Nvidia CEO says China unlikely to buy their chips. Okay, but the stock is up in pre-market, so that's fine. Okay, let's go over some of the more news that's there. Trade talks underway, and they're still underway with EU, China, EU, Canada, and Mexico. Hmm. Kevin Hassett says he won't speculate on him being Fed chair. Wow. He says economy is not overheating according to GDP. These were the guys that were saying that the GDP numbers are not right. I don't know. Hmm. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell has asked the central bank's Inspector General to review its $2.5 billion headquarters renovation amid growing pressure from Trump and his allies. The project, focused on two historic buildings, has become a flashpoint as Trump pushes for Powell's removal over rate policy. The review comes as White House questions whether parts of the overhaul violated design rules. Not bad. So I'm telling you, he's not going anywhere. This is just him trying to get his stuff done. White House advisor Hassett says the Federal Reserve should be independent. So there you go. I'm pretty sure they're going to be getting Waller in. They're going to keep Hassett on the side, and they're going to get someone in there as another Fed governor just to do what they want. Kevin Hassett says Fed has been very wrong on tariffs. Okay, cool. Yeah, Elon came out and said that he doesn't support a merger between XAI and Tesla. So that was a word that was going around over the weekend saying, is that possible? Is that going to be happening? Can they merge and will that happen? Hmm. I think a lot of these fintechs are being sold. Goldman comes out and puts a downgrade on Upstart. Initiates a sell, price target at 71. Let's see what Upstart is up to. Oops, Upstart's down 6%. Maybe that's what's dragging down all the other guys as well, because a lot of these guys are getting downgraded, so that's taking these stocks lower. Yeah, a lot of them. Let's see, actually see what's happening with Square, which is XYZ or Block, whatever it is now. Oh, that's flat. Let's see what's up with PayPal. There was news of JP Morgan charging fees for all of these fintech companies. So that's that. PayPal was down about 5.73% and trade on Friday. It's flat today. It's not down anymore. So that's actually not bad. Bitcoin's up about 20% in the last 3 weeks. So that's actually been a good move that you've seen. So Hims and Hers app downloads decline for the first time. Wow, fascinating. Oh, Uber got its price target raised to 109 from 100. So let's actually go and see what's happening with Uber. Flat. It was down a percent, so now it's at about 95. So it's right there. It's not really moving that much. Yeah, what are we? We're about 10 minutes away from market open. So hmm. Amazon says Prime Day 2025 was its biggest ever. So a lot of them were saying that it's going to be Prime Day sales were down 41% in the first day of the 4 day event. And ended up becoming the biggest ever. I think it was up about 24% is what Adobe was saying, 24% increase. And that's what's exactly happened. Starbucks has been initiated with a sell. Wait, what are the things? Turnaround efforts underway, but progress remains uncertain. US operational stability still in transition. China competition intensifying from local players, and third place brand restoration requires trade-offs. Okay, I don't know. I don't know what all of these guys are smoking, but cool. Yeah, we get Netflix earnings on Thursday after close, so that's going to be something to watch, because how does that affect the market would be actually worth looking into. Yeah, Chinese nominal exports to the US rebounded in June while exports to EU and LATAM fell. Now, I don't know if any of the everybody's going to be trusting. I think Kevin Hassett came out and said that he's not sure if he's going to be trusting whether what's currently happening when it comes to these guys. Yeah, so Fastnell beat on all metrics, so that's good. At least we have a good start to the earnings season. You're going to be getting all of the banks coming out, so all of that's coming. US online sales across all retailers hit 24.1 billion during the 4 day prime sale event, up 30.3% from the stretch last year. That beat the 28.4% growth estimate. Amazon says biggest prime day run ever, strong demand for Alexa, Ring doorbells. Give me a second, guys. Yeah, so Prime Day was a pretty good. Yeah, what are we, just 6-7 minutes up for the market to open? So let's see how that happens. Should actually be a pretty good day. I would have expected it to be, but we're not opening that well because we do have all these other issues coming in, right? So that's currently been going on as well.
What's not being baked into the market today that could come up during earnings season?
It's interesting going into the earnings season. Like the earnings bar is actually relatively low. You're at like kind of mid-single-digit EPS growth, which both quarter-on-quarter and year-on-year. That said, that bar is actually higher than last quarter. So there's a lot of moving parts here. What's not baked in? I think what's not baked in probably is companies coming out and saying we're good. A 10 to 15% effective tariff is manageable for us, and we're leaving guidance where it is, and the consumer is maybe behaving better than expected. So it could be that the right tail is not effectively priced this time, whereas last quarter I think you might have felt that the left tail wasn't.
But it's interesting, to your point, you had more companies punting than actually giving any sort of guidance or scenario analysis. But Stuart, it wasn't that they weren't only not punished for punting, they were punished if they gave some sort of outlook that suggested that they could be hit by tariffs. If companies don't know right now, what would be even the incentive to give a view into that lens, to say we will be hurt by X amount, if this is a market that is very willing to punish them for saying so?
I think it really boils down to how much confidence the analysts and investors have in their own ability to forecast. So I think last quarter people gave companies a pass because they also didn't know, right? Well, people have spent the last three or 4 months trying to figure out, right? So if analysts feel like they have a very good view on the impact on a company's sales and margins, and the companies themselves say, oh, we're gonna keep guidance where it is, I think those companies will kind of be under a little bit of pressure. So I think the risk here is last earnings season, analysts, the Fed, economists, policy makers, I think all had a tremendous amount of uncertainty, and for that reason you were given a pass. That level of uncertainty is kind of squeezed in tighter now, and
So silver is something that I also looked at, and silver is now actually picking up. It's almost closer to $39. So that's a big move. I wouldn't have expected that to be seen on silver. I mean, I was actually looking for a bullish move on silver, but this is actually turning out to be a pretty 1% up. It's close to hitting $40. It's got $1.25 pending for silver to head high. So that looks pretty likely. Let's go ahead. Let's listen to something that's coming towards the market open. If there is something, I'm just going to go and see if we have any stocks that we can talk about. Netflix gets upgraded, so price target now at 1400, right next to their earnings. So Netflix is down about 7.5-8%. So in February, during the entire fall, it went from 1072 to like 818, and then 818 went all the way to 1332. Now this is the only fall that it's actually seen in the past 2 weeks. So let's actually see whether this can actually maybe it comes down all the way to $1,000, because earnings come on Thursday post market. So that'll be fun to actually watch. Brazil has reportedly asked the US for tariff reduction to 30%, could ask for tariff postponement of 90 days. Yeah, Brazil's the one that got the worst tariff rate, so they're asking for something where they could just get some reprieve. That's going to help them. Yeah, just a few minutes more for the market to open, so let's see how that actually comes through. JP Morgan says that markets still bet Trump will pivot to lower tariff rates before August 1st. That's the same thing that Polymarket's been saying. Polymarket's been betting that markets think there's a less than 50% chance these new tariffs will go into effect. Yeah, we're just about a minute away from the market to open. So let's actually see. Reebok founder says virtually impossible to make sneakers in the US. Yeah, I think everybody knows that, including Trump. It's just that we're all waiting it out to see whether this can actually be a little bit more. Yeah, the dollar index is in the green today, but not too much, just 0.09%. So it's not actually picking up and going crazy. It is up though, I would give it that much. It's better than most other cases. Disney's reiterated a buy. Price target has been raised to 140. Park segment resilience with wait date time data showing minimal impact from Epic. DTC upside tied to Hulu arbitration unlocking synergies and margin expansion. So that looks like you're going to be seeing that. And we're about 20 seconds away from open. So
the open, and of course we are looking to reverse some of those losses, so we can actually open higher potentially. Really interesting morning here. Markets digesting
4% down on a firm. That's going to play out. That's going to be a bad one actually.
EU's potential retaliation, and we are also watching how markets are going to be digesting pressure on the Fed. There you go.
Yep, down about 3.82% on a firm. So that's actually a bad day.
Biotechnology being a very hot sector this year. A lot of M&A in that world as well as listings. So keeping an eye on what's going on. A lot of excitement. And over here, over at the New York Stock Exchange, H&R Block. And as we open as well, let's take a look at some of the stocks we are keeping an eye on, Danny. Also, does H&R Block have a mascot of like a tax accountant? They could think of something more creative. Maybe like an Excel spreadsheet as a mascot or something. Belong in Disneyland. Not exciting. I don't know. H&R Block Disneyland. What's the difference? All right. As you mentioned, Shonali, some really interesting movers. You've been talking about some of the changes happening at consumer companies. Kenvue. It has made board director Kirk Perry its interim CEO that is effective immediately. Shares are up 4.3%. The company has been announcing a strategic review. Again, a lot to watch, a lot of very interesting company news.
So it looks like we have opened in the green. We're up about
some big changes happening.
23 points right now. And it does look like, let me just reduce this a bit. Yeah, Autodesk is up about 6%. We were actually talking about it right now itself. Anyways, you are seeing the index up now 44 points and heading higher. Let's see if it starts making a move towards an all-time high. That would actually be fun to watch. Let's see. So Starbucks down about 1.37%. That's because their numbers actually came in. Analysts basically came out and said no, they should not be doing this and that. And anyways, no one gives a shit. Anyways, everyone that's new here, go ahead, subscribe. And if you guys have come in, ask me a few questions. We've been doing this for about 48 minutes. So let's try seeing if we can do this closer to closing. And appreciate everyone coming in. Thanks so much for tuning in.
CTAs and those types that tend to trade futures.
Lemonade down another 1%, Affirm down 3-4%. That's bad. Anyways, nice to see you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.
A modest positive for markets at this point. I think retail is largely